sacked by Gardeck.
Barbarian.
I'm Dennis Gardeck, linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals. As an undersized high school player to playing Division II to working at McDonald's, my path has been anything but ordinary. While I've been rehabbing, I've spent a lot of time in our facility. During this time, I've gotten to hear some amazing stories from our staff. And it's always fascinated me hearing how everyone in the building has gotten here. And if there's one thing we all have in common, it's how uncommon our journeys have been. And this is how I got here. All right, guys, we've heard some pretty unique stories from different areas of the facility. Today, we're going to be talking to one of the most unique stories I've heard from the first Mexican non-kicker NFL player, Rolando Cantu.
What's up, Dennis?
What's going on?
Welcome to our radio booth, man.
All right, Rolando, we're going to get into the NFL side of things and your path to the NFL in a little bit. Right now, I want to talk about that transition from the NFL to broadcasting and kind of what makes your broadcast so unique.
I think it's the passion. We call games really fast.
Interceptado. Simmons, Rolando. Isaiah Simmons. Rookie. Presente el día de hoy.
Very energetic. Luis Hernandez, myself, he's a play-by-play, I'm the color analyst. So we just have that chemistry, man. Like football, right? You have to have chemistry with the guy next to you in order for this to work. And that's the way it is in our Spanish radio booth. And I think that transition, when I stopped as a player into this, it's the same passion, man. I'm around football. I'm calling your games. I'm watching you play. So I think that's what makes us different and unique from other broadcast teams.
Yeah, and that energy and that passion, that's something I can definitely relate to every time I'm out on the field. It's, you're like a kid again, and it's that same game you've been playing the whole time. So does it still feel like that, even calling it, or has it changed a little bit?
It has changed, to be honest with you. When I transitioned from a player to the broadcast booth, there was about a year or two seasons that were like, okay, I felt I could still perform and still play. But then our Super Bowl run came, and I think that's when I became a super fan of the game, because after that season, losing that Super Bowl, it was like, okay, the passion was definitely there. I became a student of the game in regards to the way I would prepare as a broadcaster. So most definitely, man, when we call you games, we feel we're right there with you, because I mean, Dennis, we know your story. You came in through the kitchen door. You didn't come in with that red carpet, and so did we, Luis and myself. So most definitely, when you're out there on special teams, and especially when you're out there on the defense getting your rotation in, we feel Dennis the Menace on the field, man.
Being able to appreciate all the things that football has given to us, and this organization being able to keep you on and find that role within the same organization and not going somewhere else in the NFL doing the same thing. I think that's so unique that the Cardinals kind of keep and grow talent from within.
Yeah, I've been able to blossom within the organization, because my first ever broadcasting gig was calling the Super Bowl, man. So imagine I was a player like you, and I was invited by TV Azteca to call the game, and it was like, okay, so I eventually said, this is going to be my next step, my next career in football, right? Because I'm still attached to football, attached to the game that I love. For me, it's still representing every single time I'm on the microphone, every single time I'm at a kids camp. I'm wearing the polo, I'm wearing the Cardinals uniform. That's my uniform now. I really enjoy it, man.
Did you have a passion for that prior, or kind of what was your major? Just being thrown into that position of you're calling the Super Bowl, what is that like?
My major is international business, right? So, and I went to Tec de Monterrey, Campus Monterrey in Mexico. And this wasn't on my radar, to be honest with you, because I was an NFL player and I was trying to make it, and I was starting to stay in the game as long as I could. But then when I got that exposure my rookie year on the practice squad, and I was able to broadcast on TV, and then I heard the feedback like, hey, you're a natural, you talk about the game from a player's standpoint, because I didn't study communications. I'm not heavy on the stats side. I let that part, take care of itself with some other people that do that. But I'll tell you why the play happened and how it happened from my eyes, right? As a former offensive lineman. And I think when I broadcast it, people really relate to it, or when they hear me, it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's breaking it down to where I understand it. The first time I performed on the air, I said, okay, I want to continue to do this, and that's when the passion really started.
Okay, so calling my games now, and you're saying you're kind of watching as you're still a player.
Yeah.
What does our matchup look like?
I mean, you come from a small school. My school, Tec de Monterrey, Borregos Salvajes, is considered a small school in the U.S. eyes, right? Because we play Division III All-Stars every year. I mean, if we were to match up, I think we'd do pretty good.
All right, I appreciate you explaining that transition from the NFL into broadcasting. Let's go talk a little bit more about your story on becoming an NFL athlete.
Let's do it, Dennis.
Being able to draw on inspiration everywhere, that's kind of what this show is all about. Talk to me about your childhood, how you got into football, and what kind of guided you to pursue that college and then on into the NFL.
The dream started young, man. Watching football on TV in Mexico and in South Texas, where I grew up as well. I knew that I wanted to do this, right? And I played 5A in Texas, McAllen, Texas, the Bulldogs, McAllen High School. The region back then, 25 years ago, wasn't the way scouts are now, right? So I dominated, I played good, and then for me, it was like, okay, I had these letters coming in Division I, but our coaches were not really, I guess, experienced to kind of do the follow-up and stuff like that. So I knew I had a shot back home in Monterrey because Tec de Monterrey, #1 private school in Latin America, they were giving out football scholarships, right? And if you landed one of those scholarships, it was like going to the Harvard of Mexico. And I knew I had that shot. Coach Frank Gonzalez recruited me heavily out of South Texas, said, hey, come on in. And I was starter day one. So when we started playing in Mexico, I did have coaches develop me in my craft and my technique, because our coaches started going to training camps, man. That was big, Dennis. Like Mexican coaches going and actually sitting in these auditorium rooms in NFL teams. And that kind of changed everything for me. When I got to an NFL Europe training camp, these guys were performing at LSU, at Bama, big time schools, man. And I was getting the repetition with them. But once I hit that first punch, I said, I got this, man. I can definitely do this. Coaches would say like, hey, Cantu, so where'd you play college ball at? And I would respond, Tec de Monterrey, Borregos Salvajes, in the country of Mexico. They're like, oh, New Mexico State? I'm like, no. I played at Tec de Monterrey, a university in the country of Mexico. They said, hey, Cantu, doesn't matter where he's from, Mexico, Tec de Monterrey, he played college in Mexico. This guy is the more qualified right guard we have on the roster, and he's gonna get his reps. It was business, and I was focused and fortunate that year. We won the World Bowl. That got us really exposed, and I remember, man, in Dusseldorf, Germany, Gusenkirchen was a scenario there. I met the Bidwell family, Mr. B, Michael, Tim, and they were on the sideline for the World Bowl. Walked up to me and introduced himself, and I introduced myself, and they told me, hey, Rolando, we just hired Dennis Green, and Dennis Green has told me a lot of good things about you. Imagine that, man, coming from Mexico, where there's like a 0.01% chance of making it to the league, to shaking an NFL owner's hand.
Not only shaking an owner's hand, but they've watched film, they know who you are, that kind of thing.
I couldn't believe it, man. Yeah. It was like, how do you're about to play the most important game of your career. How do you process that? So I had to calm myself down because I was going 100 miles an hour, man. My heart was about to jump out of my chest, and I said, okay, focus on the first play, don't miss a block, pick up everything. I mean, just narrow it down to that. And I had a great game, man. We won the World Bowl that day. And sure enough, man, the Cardinals had picked me up the next day. So in the World Bowl celebration, I already knew that I was gonna come here to the desert.
All right, so you meet the Bidwells, you guys win the championship, and now you're signed to a practice squad deal with the Arizona Cardinals. Walk me through that transition.
I couldn't believe it, man. It was like, what just happened? Like I was offered a spot on the practice squad. What is a practice squad, right? Because I mean, you're coming straight from college in Mexico into an NFL Europe league. Now I'm going where I wanted to be, right? the NFL and with the Cardinals. So that was quick. I remember Dennis Green called me. He's like, "Hey son, report to rookie camp here coming up in late summer." And I told him, "Hey coach, can I ask you for a favor?" On the first call, it's like, "What do you need?" It's like, "Can I go from Europe to the desert?" It's like, "Nobody's here." It's like, I want to be there. I want to go train. I want to get to know my coaches, my surroundings, my gym. I don't want to lose time. And he did. He's like, "Hey, hold the call. Somebody will pick it up. Somebody will call you and arrange travel for you." So for me, I was already here. And practice squad 04, 05, I debuted it, made history. First Mexican non-kicker from a Mexican college league to ever play a regular season game against the Colts and Peyton Manning. And then in 06, man, I tore my knee up. And that was a tough pill to swallow because I've been prepping my entire life for that moment. And then an injury came. And back then, injuries, 16, 18 years ago were major injuries. Now, science wasn't the way it's at right now. And that was the last of my career, my playing career. 06, I was on the IR, and I'm still blessed, man, to represent a team that gave me a shot as a player. So for me, every opportunity I walk into this training facility, every opportunity I get to represent the Cardinals on the air or in other events, I do it with a lot of pride, man.
All right, Cantu. Before we get out of here, you want to see if you still got it?
Let's do it, man. Line up. No, bro. No. I don't want the bailecito on me, man.
You sure?
Yeah, no, I'm good with that, man. Hey, good luck this season, man. I'm looking forward to calling your games, man.
Stay tuned for our next episode of How I Got Here.